San Diego County jails have an unusually high number of in-custody deaths, and a new report examines why. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee. An audit commissioned by the county's Law Enforcement Oversight Committee looks at 179 deaths inside county jails from 2011 to 2024, a rate that exceeded all other large counties in California during that period. News 8's Richard Allen is here with more on what this report found and how this data could be used. Richard?
Well, Marcella, that's right. In fact, this report finds that the vast majority of those in-custody deaths occurred in just 2 of the county's 7 facilities, San Diego Central Jail and the Vista Detention Facility. In fact, the Central Jail downtown, its death rate was nearly double that of Vista, standing out as especially dangerous, with the report calling San Diego Central Jail, quote, a universe of its own.
It's taken a long time to get to this point.
Brett Kalina is executive officer of the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board, which investigates citizen complaints against San Diego County Sheriff's deputies and probation officers, including in-custody injuries and deaths. He says this new report took 3 years to complete at an overall cost of $300,000.
If there is a way to prevent one death, then it's worth it.
One of the clearest patterns identified in this study is how quickly many of these in-custody deaths occurred after people entered jail.
A majority of the deaths are occurring within the first either few days to a week, which would tell you that's where they're doing the bookings.
That finding hits close to home for Paloma Serna, whose daughter Elisa died while in county custody in 2019.
That tells us exactly that the system is breaking at intake, at medical screening, and the most critical moment when someone's life could have been saved.
Another key finding, in-custody deaths tended to decrease when staffing levels, especially supervisory staff, increased.
A supervisor level of staffing did make a difference. So having more supervisors, more people that can help guide the younger, newer deputies in this process might be a great takeaway that the sheriff's office can look at.
The report makes a number of recommendations, including reducing overcrowding, increasing staffing, and focusing more attention on inmates during the critical first days after booking. In a statement to CBS 8, the sheriff's office says that many of the recommendations identified have already been addressed or are currently in progress, adding that the sheriff's office remains committed to continuous improvement, transparency, and the safety and well-being of every individual in our custody. Speaking at Thursday's meeting was David Settles, whose brother Matthew died while in custody in 2022. David says he welcomes these findings.
My brother would be very proud to know that his death is not totally in vain, that we're addressing some of these systematic issues.
And to take a closer look at this 67-page report for yourself, just go to cbs8.com, click on the online version of this story. Very interesting report.
So, Richard, in the sheriff's office response, do they talk about any of the changes that have been made in recent years?
Yeah, they've made a number of changes. One of the key areas is in their drug detection strategies. Now, that's been a huge problem over the years, drugs coming into the jail system. So now they're using more canines to try to sniff out the drugs. They're increasing their screening protocols, and that now includes jail employees, which was not always the case. And they're also placing naloxone, also known as Narcan, throughout the housing units in all of the county jails, which of course Narcan can be used to reverse opioid overdoses.
I did a long sit-down interview with Sheriff Kelly Martinez in the fall of last year, and she did address a lot of these changes that they're making to try and reduce the number of those in custody deaths.
They're aware of these issues. They say that they are working on it.
All right, thanks so much for a detailed look at that report, Richard.